People always seem confused about what a journalist is. Is Joe Rogan a journalist? Is Stephen A. Smith a journalist? Is Tucker Carlson a journalist? Is my favorite podcaster a journalist? Well, in this episode, we break down what the heck is journalism and who is and who isn't a journalist. Now, as a current sports reporter and a graduate of the illustrious Columbia Graduate School of Journalism, I think it's best to start out with a definition. So, a journalist is someone that researches, writes, edits, and files news stories, features, and articles through mediums such as like newspaper, radio, TV, magazine, or podcast. Now, I know that was word salad. You all like, what the heck is he talking about? Let's give an example. So my most recent story I just did was on an influx of Nigerian football players in the Dallas area. But to complete that story, I had to go through some steps. Number one, research. I had to go on the Census Bureau to have actual statistics. I couldn't just say there was an influx. I had to prove it. Number two, I had to report. I had to go in the field, find those people, and then interview them as sources. Step number three, I had to talk to an expert. I talked to the Texas State demographer, someone that can talk to me on an expert level about the topic. Step number four, I had to write the story and edit the story. Step number five, I had to fact check everything. I couldn't just say something and not be backed up by fact or me not link another site or article. And the most important thing is step number six that we will be talking about for all of our people here is none of this was my personal opinion. Yes, I saw a trend, so I thought I should do a story, but nothing was, oh, this is happening because of blank. I said, hey, these are the facts that an expert told me. These are what the people said the reason why they moved here. Nothing was, I think this or that. It was nothing was my opinion. Everything was reported and factual. Now, character number one, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is the greatest podcaster ever, and he's one of my personal favorite UFC commentators. I think he does amazing at that. And he is a comedian and owns a comedy club in Austin, Texas. But what Joe Rogan is not, even though he has a ton of accomplishments, he's very accomplished, he is not a journalist.
It's real?
They faked six moon landings.
Stop saying that because it's irrelevant.
Rogan has no obligation to report the facts. He has no obligation to use credible sources. And I say credible sources, I mean people that are defined as an expert. He can bring on anyone on the podcast that he deems to be interesting or to be an expert in a topic, and they can talk about whatever. They don't have to be speaking in quote unquote facts. Now, I think Rogan speaks really well. I think he can be entertaining, but he has no obligation to disperse factual information. He just goes on the podcast. If he thinks something is interesting, he will talk about it. It doesn't mean that that's a credible source that he's talking to, but it does mean that he deems that person to be interesting. So there's a very big difference here. I know Rogan is one of the most famous or most popular people. People are always wondering this, but I think even Joe Rogan would tell you he's not a journalist. Number two, Stephen A. Smith, or Stephen Naismith, as he would like to say.
Here's the deal. He admits he cost them a championship in 2016 because he got suspended.
Now, Stephen A. Smith is a sports personality for ESPN. He has his own podcast, The Stephen A. Smith Show, and he's actually a former columnist at the Philadelphia Inquirer, one of very few black columnists at the time. He became famous because he had a real strong relationship with Allen Iverson while he was at the Philadelphia Inquirer. But Stephen A. Smith is not a journalist, at least not anymore. Again, he used to be a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He used to be a newspaper reporter journalist. But since going to ESPN, he's become more of an entertainment only person. All he does is give his opinion. He's not in the locker room. He's not reporting. He's not writing stories. He's just giving his opinion, which is fun to hear. But a perfect example of comparison for him would be the legend Stuart Scott. Now, Stuart Scott, as we all know and love, was very, very entertaining on SportsCenter. But SportsCenter is essentially a sports anchored show. So he was an anchor. An anchor is a journalist. Stuart Scott was rarely, if ever, giving his opinion. He would make funny remarks or use these different comparisons or wear these like great outfits. But what he didn't do was like, at least on a day-to-day basis, was bash players, was say this person sucks, this person's amazing, like in those different ways. He wasn't really giving his opinion. He was just reporting whatever facts happened. Hey, Karl Malone scored 35 points and had 12 rebounds, and let's move on to the next highlight. He was reporting the facts, reporting what happened, but he was rarely giving his opinion. Number three, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was making about $20 million on Fox News before, of course, he left for the Elon Musk platform called X.
Which is designed to demoralize and hurt you and destroy your spirit. I believe that because it's true.
You believe that postmodern architecture is designed to kill your spirit?
Of course. What's
Why?
the message of it?
I wanted to bring up Carlson because I think it's a very big difference between somebody like Tucker Carlson and Lester Holt. So Tucker Carlson, I would say, is a commentator or a political pundit, versus Lester Holt is a anchor on NBC's broadcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lester Holt.
So when I was at Columbia in our video newsroom class, which is a class in the Columbia Journalism School if you want to be on TV. Now, I did end up doing newspaper anyway, but at one point I wanted to be on TV. We had to study Lester Holt. We didn't study the likes of a Tucker Carlson, even though some of my professors worked at Fox, by the way. It's because what Carlson does is he's just giving his opinion on politics, which, by the way, is very entertaining. It's very fun if you like the type of politics. But it's a huge difference between Lester Holt, who just physically and literally reports whatever happens in the news. This person died. This person's getting indicted. This is what's happening. He's not saying, well, he shouldn't have been indicted, or this is fake news, or I'm doing this. Like, it's not an opinion on the news. It's just simply, hey, here is the news, and I'm going to give you all the information you need to give your own opinion. And that's really what a true journalist does. When I wrote the story about the Nigerian athletes, I provided all the info, and whoever reads that story now can create their own opinion on, is this good? Is this bad? I'm happy. I'm sad. It's your job as the journalist or the reporter to just report whatever the heck is happening, whether that's a trend or it's some newsy stuff, and for your audience to be able to create their own opinion. And that's the difference between a journalist and a commentator pundit. Is we're just reporting the facts as a journalist, but a political pundit is talking about the facts, but with their own opinion. Thank you all for watching this video. Now, please drop in the comments for me if you think, one, I was wrong on some of these people, or some of these people are journalists and I call them not a journalist. Talk about some people in the comments that you think I maybe should do another video about. Maybe Charlemagne the God, for example. Is he a journalist? Like those type of people that are in the space adjacent to media. Do you think that they are journalists or not? Drop that in the comments and maybe I'll make a part 2. And again, I really appreciate you all for watching this video. If you like the video, make sure to, again, comment, because I'll know to make another video like this. So make sure to go like, subscribe, and share. Appreciate you all for being loyal to the channel.